Quick intro, guys, about this video. Now, I'll be speaking to Chris and Lillian. I've known them for quite a few years now, and I actually did a video a couple of years back. So please check that out. That tells you a little bit more about when they went through the buying process. They didn't have a good time with it, but you might find that interesting. The other thing is, they've actually been on television. They've been on go and get it right, A New Life in the Sun. They're on Series 9, Episode 8. So please check that out as well. That'll give you a bit more insight to what they do, because they got an Airbnb. That's obviously to do with their cave house. Worth checking that out as well, especially if you think about coming on. But this video is not about that, guys. We're going to be talking about the Spanish health care system, which I think you might find interesting. We'll also touch a bit about private health insurance as well. We're also going to be talking about Spanish pension, and also at the end we touch a little bit about a property tax which Spain's thinking about bringing in. So, hope you enjoy it. Should we get on with it? Lillian and Chris.
Hello.
They've been living here for 6 years. I've just said they're sort of their late 50s. Lillian's got an online job.
Correct, yep.
And Chris is an odd job man.
Yes.
He's been doing a lot of renovation work.
Yeah.
For us,
But
not an odd job man for other people.
No, for themselves.
Not any cash.
No, please watch out the other video I've done on. They've got an Airbnb cave house.
We have.
Great job. Anyway, we're getting back to the private health insurance. So when you first arrived here, guys, you had private health insurance, which you had to do. And then when Lillian was working like full time, you had that.
So when we first moved here, we had to have private health insurance because it's part of moving over.
Yeah.
In our case, it was to get the green card, green residency card. It was before the TIEs.
So really, we had both because
I was working.
You had the Spanish National Health Service and private, because we had to have private for documentation.
Exactly.
And that Spanish health thing, what's that called? Just for those people.
The card that you get actually says SIP on it, SIP. Right. It's a SIP card.
But that might confuse people because we don't do that now, do they? We'll do that.
The SIP card. Oh yes,
okay.
Yeah, that still stands.
Okay.
So it's a silver and red little card with your number on it, and it's a SIP card.
But that other name that you pay into.
Okay.
That's different.
So that's different. So we had the private health insurance, and I had a job, and then COVID came along, and I lost my job because everything closed down pretty much with COVID. So we then looked at getting, at that point, then wasn't entitled to national because I wasn't paying into the system. We looked at what you can actually get in this region, and you can get it in a lot of regions now, I believe. I don't know if you can get it in all of them. It's called Convenio Especial, where you pay a certain amount in every month into the national health system, and you are then entitled to national health coverage. And the only difference between having a job and paying into the system or paying yourself is that if you get a prescription, you have to pay full amount for the prescription, for the cost of the drugs. Whereas if you actually got a job and you pay into the system and you go through the national health, you only pay a percentage.
Yeah.
I don't know what the percentage is.
That's right. And you can't start Convenio Especial straight away. You've got to be a legal resident of Spain for a certain amount of time. I believe it's 12 months, or it may be 24 months. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think you got for 12 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
Minimal.
So it's not a substitute for private healthcare when you first start.
No. And that costs, as it stands at the moment, €65 per person per month.
In our region.
In our region. You pay that into the system, you're entitled to go into the GP, hospital, etc. And you get prescriptions, but you have to pay full amount for the prescriptions. The only caveat to that is, you've got to be here for a year before you can actually do that.
At least a year, yeah. That's as not actually in Spain.
Yeah.
You've got to be a
You have to have your residency
card.
card.
And I'd imagine, obviously, during that period, you still had the private health insurance.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and once you is on that system properly, you cancelled your private health insurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
To then be on the Convenio Especial.
Yeah.
But then I got a job.
Yeah.
Again. So we cancelled the Convenio Especial. I'm because of my job and I pay taxes, I have national health, and because Chris is my dependent, Chris also gets national health.
Yes.
So we don't have private health insurance, we have national health. I have had no problems with it at all for general medical things. I go down and see my GP, I get given whatever medicine I might need, or I'm sent for whatever tests I might need, until I've come to this hip problem that I've got.
Because Lillian was telling me that a couple of years ago you started to notice, there was a problem. And then this whole process of getting the hip sorted, it's taking its toll in a sense, isn't it? Because it's not, they said, okay, hip problem, we'll sort it, we'll do it now. It doesn't work like that, does it?
It doesn't, no. So the way it works here is the GP acknowledged there's a hip problem. You then get sent to go and see somebody at what's called a trauma centre. That's what they call it. You go and see somebody, and in my case it was a he, and he then goes, yeah, there's a problem, or no, there's not a problem. Now I'm saying in my case it's because I've been through this before, because I have a problem with my arm. That's a different story. But for my hip, I'm still waiting to see the trauma person for him to then go, yes, there's a problem, no, there's not a problem, what next stages are. And it's got to the stage that my GP actually said to me, I recommend you go and have the tests, because we can see from the x-rays that you've had that you've got a problem. We suggest you go and have the rest of the tests done at a private hospital. And then hopefully with those results from the private hospital, we can post them into the national system to then shorten the waiting time. Because the waiting time apparently to see the trauma guy is about a year and a half as it stands at the moment.
So these guys are in the Costa Blanca area.
Yep.
And obviously I was in the Mercia. We're obviously going, with me, I had a hip problem and I was told 6 months, but it'd be done privately, but on the Spanish health system. Whereas Lillian was told to speed up the process, really, to get it done privately.
Oh, absolutely. In an ideal world, just go and have the whole thing done privately. But I'm looking at €15,000.
Yeah, well, probably even more.
And possibly more.
Yeah.
But if it's going to take too long, then we are going to have to look at cashing in a private pension to pay for it, which is something we don't want to do, but health comes first and quality of life comes first, and we can jump whatever hurdles and mitigate it later in life. Because we're not at that age where we're going to be relying on pensions for a while.
Yeah.
So we can work something out from
I mean, the whole point of this video, guys, is to see what other parts of Spain like. I mean, because I can imagine that's what, even back in the UK, there's such a huge waiting list, and getting on that, you shouldn't need to be waiting that long.
No.
But that's what it is at the moment, isn't it? In
Absolutely.
some regions, it's like that.
Yes, yeah. We did have somebody contact us who is a friend who's down Almeria way, and apparently down in Almeria, the waiting list is about 3 months to see the trauma guy.
Yeah.
Up here, I've been told it's more than 12 months.
Yeah.
So it depends region to region.
I suppose it also could depend on population amounts as well, because I don't believe Almeria is that heavily populated as compared to this area of Alicante.
Could well be.
It's very highly populated.
I mean, there's no way of checking, is there? You know, when you're looking at Spain, and you're obviously looking for places to live, but there's no sort of like, oh, by the way, if you come to, say, I don't know, the Costa del Sol, you can get yours done next week, sort of thing.
Yes, no, there's no list as to where's better.
The other advantage with actually joining the Spanish health system as opposed to private is that you have your SIP card, and you can go to any GP. If you're travelling around Spain and things like that, it works exactly the same way as a UK health service.
Yeah.
You fall ill, you have an accident, that's fine. You just go to the local hospital or wherever.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're private, they have a list of places where you go to.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You give them a list of places in your area that you interact with.
Yeah.
And so if you have an accident or need an emergency, then you have to contact the private health company to find out where the nearest GP is or hospital that they use for where you are. If you're on holiday, say you go to Galicia. all of a sudden you're in Galicia and
I mean, at the end of the day, it's quite an important thing, really, isn't it? It's something that we don't think about when you're moving to another country.
Yeah.
Is obviously, we all know we get older and we're going to get problems, but the health is at the bottom of the list, really, isn't it?
It is. You just don't think about it because
No.
if you are healthy, it's just not a problem. When you're not healthy, suddenly it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, do I wish I still had private health insurance? To be fair, no, I don't. This is the way we think. I don't know how other people think, but there's always small print. There's so many.
Yeah.
When you actually go and take out health insurance, there's so many bits of paper they say, read the small print and sign here. Do we all read the small print? What's not covered? Would I potentially have had private cover for my hip if I had private health insurance? I don't know.
Yeah.
And potentially, no, there would have been something
I mean,
to not
I've
pay.
spoken to quite a few people, especially the people that's coming over the non-lucrative now. Private pension is pretty important. And a lot of people want to come here, but I've got an ongoing problem with my heart. Oh, don't mention that. We'll skip over that.
Yeah.
But in the small print, because you don't, honestly, you get loads of paperwork, you just want to get it done, you sign everything, and then when you get the problem, oh yeah, by the way, you're not covered for it. And that's the only worrying thing about private health. They say they're squeaky clean, but like anything, we all know what car insurances are like when it comes to paying out. They'll find something.
yes.
Agreed.
And especially if it's a lot of money, it's going to be a lot of money for a big operation.
Yeah.
That's right.
And okay, I'm struggling because of the time involved, but also we've kept working. We've been renovating caves. I haven't gone, oh my goodness, I've got a problem. I really ought to just take it easy because that's my fault. That's on my head.
Yeah.
The Spanish health system, when you look at records for all around the world, is third best in the world.
It is.
It's up there. It's third best in the world. It's better than America. It's better than the UK. When they take into account all these people that do these surveys and what have you, and actually the World Health Organization says Spain's healthcare is third best in the world. So I imagine if I fall over and I have an emergency, they're going to fix it straight away. At the moment, there is a waiting list.
Yeah.
A lot of countries have the same problem since COVID. There's been a backlog. I can't complain with my local GP down here. I've been given prescriptions for pain relief. I've had injections for pain relief. They are doing their best for me. Yes, I have got to deal with a waiting list. Maybe I should just sit on my backside for a change, as opposed to going, no, I've got to keep going and doing stuff and potentially making it worse. So it's probably on my head.
Yeah.
And I've been extraordinarily lucky that I've not had any need for the health service here.
Yeah.
So I can't really say about if it's good or if it's bad, but I believe it's good from what you've said and what other people that we've spoken to.
I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose, is private health insurance important, or we just rely on the Spanish health system here?
Yeah.
That's it.
Preventative health here is really, really good. Every 2 years, we get sent test kits for checking for colon cancer, and we send those off and we get the results back. That's happened every 2 years since we've been here, and that's on the National Health.
Yeah.
From a ladies' tests to make sure that everything's good. That happens regularly, no problem. They're in there testing, doing all the rest of it.
You were
X-rays.
surprised because you got told off by the GP that you hadn't had some of your tests done for X amount of years.
Yeah.
And you said, well, in the UK, we do it this regularly once you get of a certain age. And the GP went, well, that's disgusting. You should be done a lot more often than that.
Yeah.
And late 50s, my age now, preventative healthcare, ladies' healthcare is every year.
Yeah.
In the UK, it's every 5.
Yeah.
Or it was.
Or it was when we left the
Yeah,
UK, yes.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So be careful with your small print for private health insurance. Be sure that you're actually covered. Be careful when you decide to actually move over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also shop around. Don't just take the first private health company that you see. Go shop around. Same with every insurance, because just because one company says it works this way, another company might say a slightly different range of small
very
things
true,
too.
Chris. Yeah.
So,
And one other thing, when we first moved here, we weren't confident with our Spanish. My Spanish is fluent speaking now, más o menos. I get away with it basically, but we weren't confident with getting car insurance. We went through an English speaking one. We now go through a Spanish speaking car insurance, and it's a third of the price. We were paying 3 times more to go through somebody that's English, and actually the underwriter for the car insurance is the same company.
yeah.
Cost us a lot more.
And the other thing, going back to the health insurance, when you take out, or when we took out health insurance and the company that we used, they confirmed that there would be an English speaker at the end of the phone or consultant at the hospital, guaranteed. And that was part of the selling thing. And when we did go for an MOT, let's say, at the private hospital, nobody spoke English. And it was like, no, we need to speak to the English people. Nobody speaks English. So don't believe all the selling points either. But there again, I'm a little bit like that anyway.
Yeah.
I don't believe it until I actually see it.
Yeah.
Everything's too good to be true. And if it is, then you know it's definitely too good to be true.
Yes, yeah.
So, changing it slightly, because Lillian, obviously, because she works here in Spain and she's on the system, she's entitled to a Spanish pension. What I didn't realise, now we weren't too sure on the age of the pension, it's between 60 or 63. Spain's debating this at the moment about putting the age up. But when you get the Spanish pension, it's a bit like a benefit. I didn't know that. Whereas obviously in the UK, I've got a state pension. If I wanted to, I could carry on working. But here in Spain, if you get caught working, once you get your state pension, you lose it.
You do. So it's classed here as a benefit as opposed to you've paid into the system and it's money that you're then recuperating later on for your old age. Here, because they class it as a benefit, once you've retired, not your English, when you've got your English state pension and you've got your S1 and then you're on the system here through all of that.
Yeah,
that's different. You could then take a small part-time job here, a full-time job, whatever you wanted. But if you've paid into the Spanish system and are then entitled to a Spanish pension, you are not allowed to work. Once you are receiving that benefit, if they catch you working, one, you wouldn't be allowed to have a real job with a contract because they'll just stop your benefit. And if they catch you doing cash on the side jobs for people, they'll stop your benefit. It's a benefit. It's not a pension like we think of it.
Obviously, to get somebody to say, so you can still get a UK pension, and obviously a Spanish pension. There's no problem with that. But if you work on that Spanish one,
then it will get stopped. Yes. And the other one is people always go, oh no, don't get a real job with a contract and pay into the system because you won't get money for the Spanish pension unless you've paid in for 15 years. Not true. 15 years, including your years worked in the UK. They join the two together. You don't get an English pension and a Spanish pension. You don't get 2 payments into your bank. You will get 1 payment into your bank if you've worked in Spain as the last place that you worked. 1 payment into your bank from the Spanish system, but they will have claimed the money that you are due from the UK, and then they pay it to you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You've looked into it.
Right.
So a lot of people go, oh, no.
This is the thing that they put across a lot, isn't it? If you're working, oh yeah, I can get a Spanish state pension, and so I can retire a lot early. So what you're saying there is, you got to wait until you get the other one.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the Spanish one doesn't kick it. The Spanish part kicks in when you become Spanish aged, because then you can't work.
Yes.
So okay, and that other bit I didn't know about this one with the join together.
Yeah. Because you know, I've got a few people that obviously working. Oh well, I won't have to work as long as I have to do in the UK to get my state pension. So that's a bit of a bluff, really, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
You would get the Spanish, if somebody's come over and they've worked maybe 5 years here and they'll then go and claim their Spanish pension, No, because you haven't done 15 years. You've got to wait until you're entitled to your English pension, and then they're joined together, and then you'll get payments.
Yeah, yeah.
As I understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's all changed. It is all changing.
But it all changes all the time,
Yeah.
every
Yes.
year as well, which doesn't
Yeah,
help.
I mean, they're always coming up with stuff now. And what's annoying with the Spanish Parliament is it's like the latest one was about anybody coming over to Spain now buying a property, 100% tax on it. It's talk. And it probably won't ever get passed, but the newspapers and the news, they hick onto it. Oh, and everybody's frightened and gets pushed into signing the old dotted line.
But that's it. If that does come into action, as we understand it, and you help an estate agent, a Spanish estate agent,
Yes.
and we've got some friends as well that have an estate agency, it actually only kicks in if you're buying it as a holiday home.
Yeah.
But if you're buying a property to live in Spain, so a residential property for yourself, you do not pay that 100% tax.
They're just trying to stop. Here's us.
If it happens.
If it happens.
Yeah.
Here's us pushing our Airbnb. Do look up our Airbnb. They're trying to stop Airbnbs in places where the locals cannot afford to live and work.
Yeah.
So where it's very densely populated and you need staff to cover tourism, for restaurants, for hotels, all the rest of it. Those people can't afford to live there because it's just full of Airbnbs.
Yeah.
And the prices are just going up. That's what they're trying to take control of. So if you want to, the small print of the Spanish government is what they want to do is you want to go, I'm going to buy this thing and I'm going to just Airbnb it and I'm never going to live there. They're going to go, 100% tax then. You can obviously afford it.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so, touching on that Airbnb, you don't have to pay tax the same way as you would do if you're self-employed.
Yeah.
That's a completely different thing. You can have it as part of self-employed, but you don't. So therefore, you only pay income tax on the Airbnb side, and that does not go against your state pension or anything. Literally, all you're doing is paying the tax for money that you've earned, and it doesn't go into the system other than the tax office.
Okay, yeah, good point. So don't buy a property thinking I can rent out the annex of it and add, then I'm self-employed and I'm paying into the system, because you don't. You just pay the income tax on money earned.
Yeah. But you could go self-employed.
You could.
You could do it self-employed.
And then you've got to pay autonomo fees.
As well as tax.
As well as tax. Look that one up. It's not worth it.
So I'm going to finish it here, guys. I want to thank Chris and Lillian for talking about, I think it's a pretty important subject really, about healthcare. And obviously we touched on the pension and we finished off with the tax, which is horrible.
On that note, we need another cup of tea.
Yeah. So I'm going to say adios amigos.